And just like that, the Mariners are back in a playoff spot, taking 2 of 3 from the Los Angeles Angels of Disneyland. And we are seeing some of the games around the league, including the Rangers and Blue Jays and the Athletics and Astros, kind of work out in the Mariners' favor. So much to talk about here on episode 25 of the Hit It Here podcast. But first, Joe, how are you?
I am tired. It's Wednesday, obviously, after the series finale against the Angels, meaning that I just flew into California this morning. And for people that may have known, we were at the Simply Seattle We Want Shohei Come to Seattle thingy yesterday, Tuesday. And unfortunately, Ohtani did not play. So that was, it was not suboptimal, is how you'd say it, I feel like. But a great time in the ballpark. It was a great game to go to. 8-0 win. We'll discuss more about that game and game 3 later on in the podcast, obviously. But shout out to everyone that we see around the ballpark. It's amazing, right? I don't know. It's one of my favorite things. Just walk around and be like, hey, it's like, oh shoot, that person knows who I am. It's crazy. It hasn't gotten old yet.
I don't think it ever will.
I mean, yeah, there's no way. There's no way it will.
Yeah. So shout out to all you guys that we met, especially Alex. You're the homie. I think that game had some of the most immaculate vibes of a game I've been to in quite a while.
Oh, I was vibing.
Yep.
To say the least. Yeah, it was good vibes.
Anyway, so yeah, the Mariners took 2 of 3 from the Angels. And again, like we talked about at the top of the show here, right now, at the time of recording this, the Athletics and Astros are going, and the Blue Jays Rangers game, they both just started. We'll talk about the Mariners first, but then we got to dive into those other series. But
you have to.
Looking at the Angels and Mariners, obviously, first game was ugly. Not to start off on a bad note, but what'd you see in that game?
The offense did what it seemingly likes to do, is go big in one inning and then disappear for the majority of the rest of the game. And Logan, I don't think he pitched poorly. There were a couple mistakes. Logan O'Hoppe decided to go God mode and then was quiet the rest of the series, I think. So it's just, the Angels were showing a bit of resiliency. Reed Detmers figured out that he shouldn't throw his slider, I think is his bad pitch, and figured out how to work his changeup in a very heavy right-handed Mariners lineup. It's Jared Kelenich's return to the big league club. That was very exciting. Obviously, he didn't play in the following 2 games because he did foul a ball off of his foot in the first game, which is ironic. It's the other foot. So, you gotta keep him fresh. So I don't blame Scott and co for sitting him. Yeah, it's just there were several mistakes throughout the entire game in game 1, and it just couldn't finish the job. Julio running on a ball to shortstop when he's on second base after you got a leadoff double. Not ideal. Gino letting the ball get past him, not chesting it up. Not ideal. Not scoring with the bases loaded and no outs. Not ideal. But say Gino chests the ball up and he only gets 1 out. The Angels theoretically could still score there. I'm not here to play what ifs, but game 1 was sloppy, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we look at that game and we saw the Andres Munoz that we know, the one that he started out looking like poo-poo, but he came out and he ended the inning without giving up any runs after loading the bases. The Mariners then subsequently loaded the bases with no outs, and like you said, they went down in order after that. I think the most interesting thing to me, the thing I took away from that game the most was, again, like you said, that was Jared Kelenich's first game back, and he struck out in a very big moment.
Yeah.
And I literally looked over, was like, I want to know what he does if he strikes out here. And he looked like he handled it okay. And that's the situation where Jared Kelenic last year is throwing stuff. Like if him striking out like that. So
you're right.
I think that was good to see. Game 1, I mean, it was awful. The vibes for the Mariners obviously were just in the dumps at that point. They had fallen out of a playoff position by losing that game. And the month of September just seemed to continue doing what it's been and be the worst time of our friggin' lives. So, but game 2, Mariners put up 8 on the Los Angeles Angels of Disneyland. Brian Wu looked really, really good. Obviously, going back to game 1 first, before we even move on to game 2, this is my bad. Julio's home run. Oh my God.
I don't know how he hit it.
Oh yeah.
It was at his shins.
Mm-hmm.
Below the lower half of his shin. Went out, just got the barrel to it, scooped it out to center field. It was the insane power to be able to hit that ball that far.
Yeah, and it was you told me this yesterday, the 1-year anniversary of the Atlanta Braves game, where Julio hit the game-tying home run, and then Gino hit a walk-off home run. It just felt like that was going to happen again, and they fell short. It didn't. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But that home run really did feel just like that one that he hit in that game against the Braves a year ago. So, I don't know. Game 1, it sucked. It sucked, and it was all compounded by everything that happened prior to that, obviously, in the Rays series. We've talked about this before. If that game had happened as Game 3 instead of Game 1, and they had won the first 2 games of the series, maybe it wouldn't have felt so bad.
Yeah.
It's just, it happened when it did, which is what sucked.
Yeah. Like
Game
the
2,
sky is falling after dropping 3 in a row to the Rays. Like it is just kind of the juxtaposition of those losses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Game 2, Brian Wu, like I said, looked really good. The Mariners overall looked really good, again, scoring 8 runs. We saw some great defense again out of Gino, other than that one mishap he had in Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3, a close game, but the Mariners were able to fend off what the Angels had left. And we saw some good play out of guys like Cal Raleigh throwing a guy out to end the game, or Justin Topa picking a guy off at second base. Just some really clutch plays there from the Mariners. The rest of the series, what do you think?
I mean, Cal's been on fire with the caught stealings. His throws have been on the money, throwing darts down in their second base. What did I think about the rest of that? I mean, stop sending Ty France. He's station to station. Really good hand placement in the slide today for the game tying run, but damn, was it way too close for comfort for me. I am not a professional athlete, and I'm not here to say that I could, don't look at me like that I could have rounded third and got home quicker, but I might be willing to go test it. Yeah, I think Game 2, after what happened in Game 1, I think we gave up 4 hits. Did the Mariners walk anybody in that game?
I don't remember.
Wu went 5 2/3, struck out 8. Like I said, I think only 4 hits. So, and again, the Angels lineup, they're missing the 2 big guys in Ohtani and Trout. Duh. But still, like holding a major league lineup to 4 hits and you're shutting them out. They then tied the Braves for the most shutout victories. Well, I guess it has to be a victory if you're shutting a team out, with 15, tied for the major league lead this year. And I think that's a tone setter. Coming off of the 8-5 loss, was it 8-5? Something like that. Bad loss in extra innings. Having a tone-setting game like that one, I know there's sage being burned in the clubhouse. JP and Gino bringing the good vibes.
Did that actually happen?
Yes. Yeah. So Jen Mueller tweeted it, and I think after yesterday's game in Gino's interview, she asked, and Gino said it was me and JP. I'm pretty sure is how it went down. You know, to kind of shift the vibes a little bit, get him in the right spot. And today, Game 3, I was a little worried. The script was looking good for Castillo, and then Brett Phillips, of all people, hits a bomb. It's a solo shot, you know, it's not doing a whole lot of damage. But if you're giving up a home run to Brett Phillips, typically that game is not going the way you want it to. If I had to, you give me one line of a box score and I see Brett Phillips home run, it's not, I'm not imagining a win, because that's just, you know, that's like hitting a Yahtzee on the first roll, in my opinion. And they held it out, you know, they got it done. They figured it out how to hold on to the lead. The bullpen did their job today.
Why is Brett Phillips catching strays?
Dude, he only has 2 home runs on the year, including today.
Okay. Why is he catching strays, though?
What do you mean?
Like you're just like, I like Brett Phillips. He's fun.
I understand you like Brett Phillips. It'd be like if Colton Wong hit a home run.
He did that multiple times.
And again, a broken clock can be right twice a day.
And I'm pretty sure the Mariners lost all the games that he did that in.
Sure.
So
I'm not trying to slight Brett Phillips in any way. I'm just saying, pick a guy in the Angels lineup. He's not the one I'm like, yep, he's hitting a home run. You know what I'm saying?
I just Brett Phillips has 29 career home runs. All right.
And how many games? How many plate appearances? How many at bats?
826 at bats.
Okay.
So we'll call it 2 seasons. It's like two full seasons worth of at bats. That's 15 a year.
Yeah, I guess. He's just not an everyday player. He's a role guy.
Yeah, you just ate your words, homie. That's tough. So the Mariners are going to be going on to take on the Los Angeles Dodgers now. Nice little LA homestand, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted them to sweep the Angels, of course. now we just don't want them to get swept by the Dodgers. I think if you somehow manage to win this series versus the Dodgers, you're winning the World Series.
You're booking it now?
Yeah, booking it now because I just want them to win one versus the Dodgers because it's like if you go 500 on this homestand, you're staying in the right spot. We do have to hope some of the teams around us, kind of keep doing what they're doing. Obviously, the Athletics have taken 2 of 3 from the Astros, and the Rangers have beaten the Blue Jays now 2 games in a row. Might be 3 by the time that you're watching this. Who knows?
Yeah.
So the teams around you are helping by a lot. Like the Athletics beating the Astros. Wow. It's like I
couldn't have asked for a better series from the Astros against the Athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Just putting up duds against the Oakland Athletics. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Well, and then the Blue Jays have a relatively tough schedule the rest of the way. So if the Rangers can bury them,
yes,
that's
the ideal situation in that 4-game set is one team buries the other. They split. Not what we want. And if I honestly think, I think before the series had started, I would have probably said I would rather the Blue Jays bury the Rangers because they were out of the playoffs when the series was started. And then obviously since the Rangers have taken 2 of the first 4, they have gone up, right? Yeah. But since we have that tiebreaker already over Toronto, pretty much guaranteed to be locked up because I think Toronto would have to win out against the East in the tiebreaker based around their the interdivision records. If we end up tied with Toronto at the end of the year because the Rangers buried them down, we will be in the playoffs. Whereas the Rangers, we have to go in 7 games, win 6 out of 7 to lock in a season series win against the Rangers because we're 1-5 right now. So I probably, looking back, I feel like I would be wrong in saying that I would have rather the Blue Jays have buried the Rangers.
I don't know. I think I still would have rather it been that way because then if the Rangers are buried, you have some leadway against them.
Yeah, I guess
in the series.
You can play against them and hopefully that you hope that you beat them in that series. It's just the issue is if we get to that point in September and the Rangers have buried the Blue Jays and then the Rangers take 4 out of 7, I would be more worried if the Rangers had been buried in this series against Toronto that they would be able to catch up to us at that point. Because the Rangers' strength of schedule, they've got the Guardians and the Angels coming up. I would bet more money that the Blue Jays are going to lose more games than the Rangers the rest of the way.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, we heard today that Max Scherzer's out for the rest of the year. So that's interesting.
That is a good point as well.
So it's like the Rangers, their pitching staff, man, it doesn't matter what they do. It just doesn't exist. Their pitching staff's horrible.
Yeah, just can't take a win.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, as long as one team sweeps the other, I don't care. I don't care what happens. One team sweeps the other, I'm fine with it. Honestly, 3 of 4 is fine. Right now, the Mariners, at the time of recording this, are a half game up on Toronto.
Yeah.
And the Mariners have that tiebreaker with Toronto. Yeah. So
we will end today in a playoff spot no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the rest of the way, the Mariners have this series coming up against the Dodgers, and they have Oakland, and then that's when the gauntlet starts.
Yeah.
This series where you see the Rangers.
Yeah, the series against the Dodgers is going to be pretty tough. We know that going into it. And the pitching matchups, they're okay. The Dodgers haven't lined up their game 3 starter yet. And this could shift around, but Bobby Miller and George Kirby is game 1. That should be a good matchup.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Bobby Miller's having a great year. And then game 2, it's Kershaw versus Bryce Miller. So Kershaw, if he's got 2.61 ERA on the year, dude is still good, aging like fine wine.
What day was that? Saturday?
Yeah, 16th.
Nice. I'm going to that game.
Nice. Should be a good game then. And yeah, Gilbert obviously rounding out the series for the Mariners. Sunday for the Dodgers, I really don't know who's on that pitching staff because they've got Ryan Pepiot.
Lance Lynn.
Pepio. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Going again tonight. Maybe Lance Lynn, that's a good shout, but Gonsolin's done for the year. I know they shut down Walker Buehler, even though he's trying to make a comeback. They've had a lot of injuries come their way. And Rich Hill, he just got placed on the waivers by the Padres. Maybe, if he makes it to the Dodgers, I'd be surprised. But he could theoretically start a game for the Dodgers. Maybe the Mariners should get him to help piggyback with Wu and Miller a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, they have Ryan Yarbrough.
Okay.
as well. So
Sure. Bless you.
former Mariner, by the way, traded to Tampa Bay in the offseason of 2016, 2017. I think, don't quote me on this.
In the Mike
I
Zunino trade?
might have been the D Gordon trade. Now I have to look. Now
You
we
have
need to
to.
know.
You have to look.
So the trade that sent Ryan Yarbrough to the Rays with Carlos Vargas was for Drew Smiley.
Right.
Old soggy arm. So yeah, Logan Gilbert versus Ryan Yarbrough. You would hope to take that game. I mean, again, it's the Dodgers, one of the best lineups in all of baseball. But again, we do have that off day coming up, and I think it's coming at a really good time for the Mariners. Obviously, they've played the last 13 games without an off day at the end of the season. Everyone is dragging right now. Who do you think is going to benefit, I guess, the most from this off day?
Cal Raleigh would
Mm-hmm.
be the number one guy. Dude has been taking a beating behind home plate. Really just not it's not letting up. He cannot catch a break. But there are many other guys on this team. I think just everyone just kind of needs to chill out for a day. And the bullpen specifically, we can get them ramped up. We've got another off day next Thursday as well, which is really great. I honestly might have preferred if we moved this one like a week earlier, but the scheduler, you know, you've got
You know,
beef.
I would have preferred an off day in between flying from Florida to Seattle, but hey, I mean, who am I, you know?
Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, the bullpen being rested, Cal, it's gonna be great to just kind of have them feel a little bit more revitalized, rejuvenated, and hopefully on Friday night's game, we'll get to see Jared Kelenic back in the lineup. Hopefully his foot is feeling better. He got a single the other way, and that was his one hit in his return game. But there have been guys, obviously, that the ABs that he would be taking away from would be Dom Canzone or Mike Ford, both of which they did not have the best days today. And I really think they could just use maybe just like a step back, kind of like reset themselves and let Jared take some more ABs over them. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you said, Dom Canzone. I mean, he's been go 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 since he got called up to the majors, and once he came over to the Mariners, he's been thrust into, I wouldn't say an everyday role, but damn near close an everyday role.
Yeah.
Mike Ford also kind of had an everyday role recently because he's gotten back to what he looked like earlier in the season. I don't know. I mean, we've seen a lot of, I guess, interchanging at second base right now. Dylan Moore, Jose Caballero, Josh Rojas, etc.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of moving parts right now with this Mariners team, and that's not a bad thing. You keep guys fresh that way. Obviously, Gino is trying to play all 162, and he's getting pretty close now, like a psychopath.
Yeah.
And I think that an off day for a team that is really struggling right now, that has struggled since the beginning of the month, obviously won 2 games against the Angels, so they looked good there. But
Yeah.
then going into the toughest part of their schedule, they really need this off day right now. And like you said, the bullpen specifically, I mean, Andres Munoz, I mean, Matt Brash has thrown 71 games this year.
Yeah.
That's
Dude,
ridiculous.
dude's been a workhorse. Congrats to him on
Oh,
100 Ks.
hmm
Very, very
yep.
nice.
Paul Sewald reached out to him, congratulating him. That was cool.
Still buddies.
I think all these guys are going to benefit from it. Cal Raleigh being the most, like you said, because the backup catcher situation right now is pretty bad. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But Jared Kelenic taking over for Dom Canzone out there, and maybe we don't see Sam Haggerty in the outfield all that often right now. He hasn't been terrible, not great. Maybe
Yeah.
we don't see Dylan Moore out there all the time. Obviously, Caden Marlowe has already been sent down. There was a guy on Twitter who was saying, "Why are you keeping Jared Kelenic on this roster? Well, you clearly don't need him. You should have Caden Marlowe in there."
I'm just saying, Cade Marlowe would have walked off the Angels Monday night. All right.
Caden Marlowe
Guaranteed.
would have struck out better
In better style.
in better style.
Yeah.
I was like, homie, have you not watched Caden Marlowe swing a baseball bat in the last month? Not really, because he hasn't been playing because
Yeah.
he's been terrible.
It wasn't
So.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Jared is a very big part of this team. I was surprised in his one game back that he was batting like 8th or 7th or
Yeah,
something
he's
like that.
batting 7th. I was hoping he'd be a little bit higher to maybe get him some more reps, but probably don't want to, how you're saying, like Dom Canzone was just thrust into almost an everyday role. Probably want to ease Jared a little bit back in. He did play a ton of games in Tacoma, trying to get him back to full game speed. So, ramp him up and then kind of ease him back into the major league role. probably want him to be more fresh when playoff time comes or the final 10 game stretch really happens where you'll need him the most. So I don't hate the 2-game sit. Obviously, we know the foul ball. I already talked about it, but yeah, I just think they don't want to rush it even more.
So this series versus the Dodgers, obviously, like we talked about before, Clayton Kershaw is going to be on the mound, a left-handed pitcher. Maybe we don't see Cal in the lineup that day, give him a blow there as well, which would mean that we would see old friend Luis Torrens, who is now back with the club with Brian O'Keefe going on the paternity list. Old friend Luis Torrens behind the plate. And as for the backup catching situation, it's not looking pretty right now with Tom Murphy possibly out for the rest of the year. We talked about that in this video on the screen right now. We appreciate you guys watching this episode of the Hit It Here podcast. We'll see you soon and go Mariners.